Angela Gaffney.
Thank you so much, Lori. It's a joy to be here with all of you. When we think about the importance of wellness, there really is no better time. We have the only thing that is certain right now, I feel like, is uncertainty. And there's a high elevation of stress, anxiety, depression, and a lot of other ailments coming to us as a result. Before I dive into the wellness piece, I thought I should share a little bit of the perspective of which I come from. You see, November 4th, 2008, it was this beautiful blue sky, Colorado day. I live just south of Denver. And I was really excited because it was going to be my day of knowing, the day I got my life back after an almost 2-year health crisis. Along the way, joint pain so severe I couldn't write or open a jar, could barely brush my teeth or comb my hair, hospitalized because I couldn't walk, brain fog, memory loss, lots of stomach aches and headaches along the way. My functioning went from being a very high level functioning corporate working mom to not functioning at all. And I was desperate for answers. So November 4th, 2008, I was very hopeful because the doctor knew what was going on in my body. I had already been diagnosed with 3 types of autoimmune diseases, all are in the arthritic family. And I was finally going to get told why my legs weren't holding me up anymore and why we were having so much difficulty with me walking and having energy. So I showed up at the doctor's office full of hope, so excited and confident. I told my husband to go home and I'd call him with the plan, only to find out when the doctor came into the exam room, he shared that he had some good news and bad news. And the good news he shared is that after all this time, he did finally know what was going on in my body. I had a rare neuromuscular disease called mitochondrial myopathy. He went on to share the bad news, which is that the disease attacks your various organ systems one after the next. And you experience things like drooping eyelids, diabetes, blindness, deafness, and paralysis before it takes your life. And I left that hopeful, excited morning feeling like this. Everything went gray and blurry, and I felt fearful and hopeless about the trajectory of my life. And it took a lot to overcome. Some other time when we have more time available, I'm happy to share the story in full. But I went home with a lot of fear and despair and hopelessness until one morning. It was the most profound moment in the whole 14 years that I've been on this journey. I woke up and I thought, gosh, Ange, I found myself in a place of trying to figure out how to die gracefully. And I thought, what are you doing, spending all your time and effort trying to figure out how to die gracefully when every ounce of my being just really wanted to live? And that was the most profound moment because it all started up here with a shift in my perspective, a shift in my mindset. And it was the moment I knew, girl, if you want to go from this place of not even being able to function, 2 babies at home, not able to work, barely able to cook or clean to keep the house in order, to a place way over there, a place I couldn't even imagine, of getting my life back, my health back, my ability to function as a normal mid-30s kind of adult, I had a lot to change. And I needed to show up and participate in a new way. And one of those things that I realized was that I had to take care of what I term our #1 fan. So if I asked you today who your #1 fan is, who shows up for you most in life, who's there for you through thick and thin, I'm sure you could pop it into the chat, but many of you would probably say a spouse or significant other, or sister, sibling, friend. And those are all great people in our lives. But what I realized in my own health journey and in the 10 years now that I've been serving clients is that our #1 fan who shows up for us through thick and thin is truly our body. And if we don't take measures to care for this amazing vessel that carries us around, that provides us energy, that allows us to have these safety council meetings and go out and serve clients and run a big website and company like Tony is, we need to show up for it in return. And so when you think about this importance of wellness, I'd like to leave you with this one thought to kick things off, and that is this, that every single day People show up with symptoms. Their body speaks to them. Many are chronically fatigued. Some are feeling extreme stress right now with all the shifts and change and uncertainty. Some have gained weight over COVID, or maybe we're carrying excess weight beforehand. Sleeplessness, fatigue, all of it, joint pain. Typically, people are experiencing some or all of these. And it's kind of scary to think that your team might be showing up in a compromised manner. But the even scarier thing beyond that is that we get used to functioning like this. We get used to functioning at whatever level we're at. And we all know that the best place we could ever live is in a healthy, happy body. But we need to invest in that personally, individually, to care for these bodies of ours. But as employers, you can invest in your people to help shift the mindset, provide tools and resources that will get to the root cause of the challenge. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, and really support your people, your teams, in feeling well, which then follows the domino effect right into the productivity that they have in their day and the customer service that they provide to your clients and how they manage stressful situations. So I want to share that people are showing up with all these symptoms, but it's not for lack of effort. Because right now, 80% of companies that have greater than 1,000 employees have a wellness program in place. And 90% of them are incentivizing their people to be active in that program. So there's a lot of activity going on around wellness. For smaller size companies, 33% of companies that have 50 to 100 employees have a wellness program in place. And a little less are able to incentivize, typically because of budget constraints, about 60%. So we have all these activities going on, and yet I want to share some statistics with you, because this is the important part of wellness in your organization. They're going to be kind of shocking, I think, to some of you. 24 million Americans right now experience autoimmune disease. It's 14% of our population. 1 out of every 5 Americans under the age of 40 has metabolic syndrome. And if you're not familiar with metabolic syndrome, it's basically a cluster of symptoms that really increases your odds for some serious diseases or outcomes, including diabetes, heart disease, and stroke. And these are some of the symptoms that you would see diagnosing into metabolic syndrome. 1 out of every 5 of us is hitting this metabolic syndrome mark. 1 out of every 4 will die of a cardiovascular event. That's 1 person every 37 seconds in the United States dying from cardiovascular disease. It's the #1 cause of death per the National Vital Statistics Report. 40 million people experience anxiety or depression as diagnosed. And the scary thing to think about is the people who we are bringing up in society right now are young people who are going to become your employees. Children aged 13 to 18, 25% of them right now have diagnosed anxiety and or depression. And often those are accompanied by each other. 50% of the time, anxiety will lead into a concurrent depression or depression into concurrent anxiety. It's overwhelming, and these rates are only going up with the situation we're in today. Over 100 million Americans are either living with diabetes or they are in a pre-diabetic state. And once we have one disease state that sets into the body, we are at higher risk of having further complications or additional disease states to come. 30 million of these are diabetic, a little over 30 million, and about 85 million of these are in the pre-diabetes. So we have a trajectory here that's really concerning. How do we help these folks reverse the pre-diabetes and get back to a healthier state? And my last statistic for you today is 1,660 deaths are expected in America in 2020 because of cancer. And when we think about these statistics, they're very eye-opening. They make my heart ache. I get teary-eyed sometimes thinking about all the lives that are affected by these specific statistics and what that means for their family members, what that means for you as employers, and how these people are showing up in lack of productivity, maybe lack of focus or care or positivity in the workplace, it impacts everything. So as I said before, it's not because of a lack of effort. We've got programs out there, but from my opinion, it's the way that I coach, it's the way that we've offered corporate wellness programs for the last 8 years, is that we have to shift perspective. Because right now, many companies are doing an incredible job of trying to offer programming to their employees. For instance, one of our first corporate clients many years ago, I met with Lisa, the HR manager, and she said, "I'm so excited, Angela." Just at the beginning of our partnership, she said, "We're launching our Biggest Loser competition." And she said, "We do this every year. The last 2 years, the same 2 people won. And so we're really excited to see who will win this year." And you know when the record goes screech, I thought, wait a minute, what did she just say? The last 2 people won the last 2 years. And I thought, this is the epitome of what takes place as healthy programming in our country, and honestly, globally. We've worked on global accounts as well as national accounts. And the thing is we're doing our best, right? Every company's doing their best. It's great to have people lose weight. It's great to throw out these, big prizes. I was getting a little carried away. Cruise to the Bahamas. I've never seen someone do that. But I just thought it was funny. We do all this to help people lose weight. And then with the example of this group, they lose what I call their stick-to-itiveness. And they go right back to the habits that weren't serving them well. Because typically people view health change or habitual change around their health and happiness and well-being as something that is finite. We have a finite program, or we have a 30-day goal, or we have this challenge, when really wellness needs to be a cultural shift within an organization. And it needs to be an opportunity to help you, your teams, make higher quality choices one at a time that adds up to big benefits in the end. And we'll talk about those benefits. But when people come back to the same habits they've had, that lands them back into the same symptomology, which then brings them back to being the winner second year round. And I feel like all the programs, when we get called in to do customized work and evaluate a corporation, this is what I feel like. Companies are trying to put their best foot forward with wellness, and many times they're just throwing spaghetti against the wall, and they're trying to see what sticks. And sometimes things do stick, and they work well, but they're not always getting to the root cause of the problem. And that is why we still see these statistics on the rise. And my sole purpose in the work that we do here is to decrease the risk of disease, reverse the current disease state so that you get them back into a healthier place, and really help with habit change over time through consistent programming. That's what you all need. And the good news is you can do something about it. So I tell everyone, fill up your cup, have a seat, and let's get ready to do the good work. And when I say do the good work, this is the one thing you could do for your organization today, is take some time to go through what I call the 4 A's, which is assess, attain, action, and accountability. And if you move through these 4 A's in your organization, you will start to uncover a few things. You will start to uncover problematic areas, danger zones. You'll also understand what your employees need and what their perceptions are about the workplace, how they're feeling, and you match that up to their biometric data, and you get a great picture of what your culture from a wellness standpoint looks like right now and how you might shift it. So the first A is assess. And when we think about assess, this is where we're trying to find out, hey, where are we as an organization on thin ice, and where do we need to have some focus? The things that you could look into from this first A as an assessment period is look at your biometric testing as a whole. Get subjective feedback from your groups. I run focus groups, my team does, for organizations in our customized work. Your employees will tell you a lot. Look at where your chronic diseases are in your overall scheme or picture of wellness, because your chronic diseases typically account for about 60 to 80% of your overall medical costs. And so if you can focus on those chronic diseases and how to get them back into the middle section, which is where we have pre-diabetes, we have some dangerous trajectories here, we can reverse these people back into health. Look at where they are for chronic diseases, look at your medical claims data, and figure out where you can focus to get your biggest return, not just because we want a return on investment. Every company wants a return on investment when they go for anything, marketing, sales, training for wellness. We all want a return on investment. But the biggest thing is that return on investment means decreased medical claims, healthier people who are showing up and being more productive, present in your workspace. So that's the first A, is assess. The second that we have to think about is attain. It's getting a yes from all of your executive team and your high-level managers, because if things don't work from the top down, it will feel disconnected and there will be mixed messages. So even if you have a wellness program in place now, maybe this is your challenge. Anytime something's not working right, you can come back to the 4 A's and figure out where you might be struggling. Attain means get the buy-in of your management team, your executive team, because they need to lead the way, and everyone needs to talk the talk and walk the walk and be engaged. Wherever executives are, management will follow and employees will follow thereafter. So beyond the permission, show up, be engaged, be an example to your teams. That's the second A, is attain. The third is all about action. Many people might go through the first sections, they assess and the attain buy-in, but when it comes to taking action, they lack strategy. And this, my friends, is a big mistake, because if we lack strategy, we're going to be the company or organization that's throwing out a biggest, loser weight loss competition, and maybe a walking competition, and maybe a hydration challenge, and so on and so forth. And you've got things that are all healthy, right? They can all help propel. But those specific things from a strategic standpoint are probably not touching the root cause of the autoimmune diseases you see on your medical claims, or the metabolic syndrome, or the diabetes, or whatever that may be. You have to be very strategic about the content you're bringing in and make sure that there's a consistent format and feed and fueling of information and inspiration and education, so that your people are taking action on things that will actually get them into a better place. Address their key health challenges. You'll know what they are because you've been through the assessment period. Consider not just food, but movement, sleep, levels of stress, and if they feel fulfilled in life or not. It plays a huge role in their overall well-being. But we need to shift mindset really in this action stage about getting to the root cause of the challenges that your employees are facing. And that's really going back to the assessment period, and then moving into action in a strategic way per the findings and data that you've collected. And when we take action strategically, what you'll see is that it builds a culture of wellness in the organization. So it's not just about a specific program or one specific thing you're doing, but you're building a momentum. And in time, it does take time, right? Many times you don't see a monetary return for 3 to 5 years, but in time you will see a cultural shift in your organization, and it feels really good. People show up in a new way, they're more loyal, and it's all because you've taken steps to provide them what they need to feel best and care for their number one fan. The last A in this little set is accountability. And I have to share with you that I was shocked in working with one organization that is consistently top #1 place to work for in the world. They're an incredible organization, but they struggled with knowing where their funds were going and what the outcome of their efforts looked like. And every company we've worked with has areas to improve here. So when you assess the need You know what your employees need, you know what your teams need, you've gained buy-in from your executive team, your management team, everyone's engaged in trying to support these efforts. You've created a strategic plan. Wonderful. Now, let's look at what happens from all of the effort you've put in. A couple of things. Track your participation-based incentives. Figure out which incentives are really propelling people to take action and stay engaged, and which might not be. Track your participation. If you're hosting webinars or if you have an online platform, dive into the data to see what the level of engagement looks like. And if there's low engagement, that's where we have to do a little powwow with your wellness team and say, okay, for these specific activities, we're getting a lot of participation. For these, we're not. How could we shift this programming or shift this opportunity so that we're reaching more people? Review your medical claims data. It's going to take a little time to see shifts there, but you might see smaller shifts in the beginning and over time see bigger shifts where you see that flux of those people in the middle sector moving back into healthy. If you have a square of medical claims dollars, right? You have healthy quadrant is a little teeny triangle in the bottom typically. Then you have this big space of the square where people are on that thin ice kind of danger zone. They're in pre-disease states, worrisome, they're on medication maybe, or they're getting some therapy and things like that. And we definitely don't want them leading into that top little triangle quadrant, which is the chronic disease state. So really focusing on how can we shift and support these people, because it is our biggest medical claims dollars typically, but more so how do we take these middle section of people and move them into a healthier state. And so looking at your medical claims data, reviewing where they are, and really working with your insurance companies on your specific data. Many times they'll come in and say, hey, you guys are doing beautifully. You are better than 50% of our current book of business. Well, that's good to know. I'm glad that you feel good that you're better than 60% or whatever book of business. However, I don't want you comparing yourself to others. I want you looking at your company, your organization, and understanding where you're going forward in movement and developing this wellness for your teams, and focusing on you versus where you land per other companies. No different than my son in the 8th grade. I don't care if the other kids all had C's and he got a B. I just want to know you got a B and maybe you're fully capable of getting an A, and how can we address that need? It's nice to know where we are comparatively to other people, but it's really best to dive into where we are ourselves and figure out where to move forward. So reviewing your medical claims data can really support that. The next part is, it just seems an obvious one, but know where your money is going. Typically, we get a budget. This is what I typically see, right? They'll get a budget, and you throw the money in there, and you might throw money elsewhere and this and that, and you might know overall what you've spent. But because you haven't looked at your return on investment, because you haven't looked to see if there's participation in that sector of the programming, money, dollars can get lost. And know where your money is going and know the impact that it's having. That is all a part of the accountability measure. And then the last part that I would like to touch on for a little bit here is return on investment, ROI, and VOI, which is the value on investment. So I'm going to pause and come back to that in a minute. I'd love to see if anyone has questions. Make sure that you're popping them into the chat. As Lori said, we'll dive in deeper and have bigger conversation at the roundtable as well. But I want to make sure when you consider these 4 A's, this is the one step you can take today, is to look at these 4 A's from your organization's perspective. Think about where you are doing very well. Maybe you haven't explored any of them. And maybe where things aren't working so well, and how you could focus in and dial in so that you get everything you need out of your wellness programming efforts. When we talk about ROI and VOI, this is a big conversation, because typically companies will see a shift, a pretty immediate shift in the VOI, in the value on investment sector of benefits. The return on investment, research tells us you can get a return of anywhere from $1 up to $3.50 a return on your investment. Some are even higher than that, but that's the average that I've seen. Depending on the size of your company, your investment in wellness, and how much your people are engaged and you're embracing it and speaking about it and getting it out there is going to matter. So your return on investment typically takes about 3 to 5 years to achieve. And your return on investment is getting money back per employee on the dollars that you have spent in the program. And that can be seen through your medical claims data and less absenteeism. Right now, when you have people who are under high stress, working remotely, trying to maybe manage children's schooling at home and their full-time job, and then you've got house things happening, maybe a clog in the sink or whatever is a setback for people. It's hard to manage all those demands. And even though they're working remotely, they may either not take a sick day or show up and not be very present or productive in their day as a result of everything happening. Sleeplessness, stress, all of that is at a high right now. I can't talk to any one client or any one corporate client organization without them saying, Angela, our people are stressed beyond belief right now, and they're having a hard time. They're struggling to manage it all. So what can we do to help them better the situation? And that comes through wellness. So that return on healthcare spending, those healthcare expenditures decreasing, sick days decreasing, that's fantastic. You might see the sick days, you will see the sick days decrease before you typically see the return on investment. That can be very quicker than the healthcare spending going down. But I'd like to shift in this area of the orange arrows, because when we look at those, that's what it matters even more, because from a longevity standpoint of that employee staying in your corporation, from a loyalty standpoint, from a teamwork standpoint, from them showing up for your clients and being able to manage stressful situations, which I call fire drills, it all matters. And the value on investment means employee positivity. People love to feel cared for. I know you probably do, I do, and when people feel like they're making an investment, that you as an organization are making an investment in them, wow, they step up in a big way, and more positivity comes as a result as well. And the corporate wellness programming that you're offering, please don't ever minimize the domino effect of benefits that it has, because for the employee, yes, it might be one little class here, a newsletter there, some inspiration every Monday morning or something that impacts the employee while they're at work for you. But those bits of classes and written work and content, those things go home very often. And they start showing up by ways of how people are making meals, or they'll be show up around the dinner table when someone talks about what they learned about sleep that day and how much they need it and it could benefit their health. And as a result, not only does it create a lifestyle type of management for the one employee, but that extends out into the family members as well. So when we think about decreased healthcare expenditures and claims, it's not just of your direct employee. If their families are also insured under your organization, there's a ripple effect there as well. And when we can get a family healthy, that's even better for your organization long term. And just to consider, when we invest in the families like that, then we have healthier people like those 13 to 18-year-old young adults who are highly anxious and some experiencing depression. We're taking care of them in a better manner, and we're bringing them up to be highly productive, healthy, not just citizens of the community, but employees for whoever they get hired by someday. And it's really a management shift, a lifestyle shift for the employee and all of them. When we think about productivity, there's an interesting word that comes up. Some people are like, oh, that, I don't know, I don't get it. And other people believe in it. And that is about presenteeism. And there's research to suggest that even though your employees are showing up at work, there is a lack of presenteeism, which means they're not necessarily focused on the task at hand. Their mind might be off in a million different directions instead of focusing on the report they need to run, or the essay or content they need to write, or the follow-up call they need to do for their sales that week to meet their quota. And when our brains are off in different areas, or we're so tired that we feel like we can't focus on what we need to do, we lack presenteeism. And when you offer wellness in your organization, the productivity will go up because you have healthier, focused, more present people in place. So that's the idea of presenteeism. And the research suggests too that it really impacts your overall success, sales, marketing, you name it, when people are not present in the workplace. It's just a conflict of interest, if you will. It's a conflict of focus. It's a conflict of ability to act or make decisions. And so the more present your people are, the better. And that's why I have in there as well, customer service, sales, team unity. I'll sometimes hear people say when I talk about corporate wellness, typically executive level folks, that, gosh, it doesn't hit the bottom line, right? We want to focus our budgets on sales and marketing and things like that. And the fact of the matter is yes, sales and marketing, coaching and things like that would absolutely help hit your bottom line and increase productivity and things like that. But I promise you, if your people are not in their healthiest state, you will never get the most out of them. And the loyalty that you build by investing in them will show up in every facet of your business. Wellness and the lack thereof definitely hits your bottom line. And it's a shift in perspective. It's a shift in understanding. It's no different than the shift that took place for me, 14 years ago or 12 years ago, I guess, diagnosis. But when I realized, gosh, if I want a shift and a change, and I want to show up in my best manner and give the most into this life, I had to change a lot of things, and I had a lot to change. I was a sugar addict. I said yes to everything. I was the girl that had climbed the corporate ladder, achieved my financial goals, all of it, and found myself in a space of not functioning at all because I didn't listen to the body. And even when I listened, I didn't take appropriate action. And when we don't take appropriate action to support our body, it lands us in a state of disease. There's never any might feel like you get bonked on the head with a diagnosis and it came out of nowhere. But typically we've had habits or choices or behaviors that have led up to that disease taking place. And when you think about that happening in your organization, your customer service, your sales, your marketing efforts, your team's ability potentially to manage fire drills that come up and things like that, they're going to suffer a bit. And it might ebb and flow more. So keep in mind, when it comes to your bottom line and your return on investment, reducing healthcare spending, it's all coming back to the quality of the effort that you get out of your people every day. And your people need to understand as well, it's not just about you making sure they're healthy for their time at work. You're investing in them so that they could also be their healthiest and at their best when they're home. And that matters. And then the last little arrow when it comes to team unity is really all about the positivity that comes from offering programs, getting your teams engaged. The more that there's camaraderie, right, maybe through incentives or challenges, or just bringing teams together to have conversations about a class that you might have had on wellness. And wellness encompasses a lot. Like I said, the food, the stress, the movement, sleep, fulfillment, all of it. Then people start showing up in a better manner for each other. Not just your customers, not just to meet their sales quotas, but for each other. And when people feel cared for, they start caring for each other more too. There's a domino effect, a bigger effect of benefits that takes place than what you might ever expect. And what I would say too, when you think about this return on your investment, is if you can think of a time that you invested in your people. Maybe it was a picnic outside, or maybe it was a day of serving your community, or maybe you brought live music in for a conference that you had for your whole team. Think about the after effects of that. and the buzz in the office and the positivity that came from it. And in a virtual space like this, bringing people together around a common theme where you're investing in them will have the same benefit. They're excited, they talk about it, they want to stay engaged, and it gives them inspiration and some energy and juice to move forward to do very well for the company. That's what the return on investment looks like. But it does take work, it does take time and effort, and it starts with those 4 A's. So Lori, I think right now, if there are any questions that came up, I'd love to address some questions, and then we can close out just to make sure that everyone has time to get back to what they need to do today, and I'll wrap up with a few final ideas.
So Angela, I am not seeing any questions in our box. I posted a message there to encourage people to type those in. So if you do have a question, please add that into the box. And I can call on you to ask those.
I will tell you some questions that come up, from our perspective and working with groups is, how do you get to the root cause of those challenges, the disease states I talked about, those statistics I gave? And if that's where maybe your mind is right now, I would encourage you just to look at the types of programming you have. See if they're approaching things from all different 5 pillars, the food, movement, stress, sleep, and fulfillment. Go through those 4 A's and really understand where your employees are, and then find resources and tools that speak to those 5 pillars around how stress feeds autoimmune, or maybe what foods you could do to decrease inflammation, what foods you could consume to decrease inflammation in the body, or activities that you could do movement-wise that align with people being at their desks all day instead of getting to the gym. That's what it looks like to get to the root cause of the challenge. Most of these disease states are there because of low-grade chronic inflammation in the body, diet not aligning with where they want to be. And so how do you explore those things to dive into the depths of what the root cause might be? So explore that as well. That's the question that comes up pretty often. Anything else that came through, Lori?
No, I'm not seeing those.
All right, we have a quiet bunch, and that's okay.
So maybe tell them about the Wellness Roundtable that we have coming up for an opportunity to dive in a little deeper.
Absolutely, and then I can wrap up with some final thoughts. So when Lori and I talked about just the importance of wellness, she wanted me to share some of the programming opportunities that we provide companies. And we've created opportunities for small to medium-sized businesses to have a very big corporate type wellness program. And in the roundtable on Tuesday the 27th, this is the opportunity for you and your teams to come to the table together. It will be a meeting style, so we'll get to see every face in the group, in the room, kind of. And Lori's asked me to take you through some of the program offerings we have. And in that, I will share with you how we help get to the root cause of the 8 most detrimental disease states globally that people are facing, the biggest health challenges, and share how you as a company can engage in those things, and then answer questions. It's about to have real conversations. It's about having real conversations at the round table instead of you just listening to a talking head like today, so that we can get your answers to your questions and also dive into some of your needs. So between now and the 27th, it would be very beneficial for you to sit down, think about those 4 A's and where you might need to focus or not. So you can bring that information and maybe ask questions about it at that time, and we can explore what those programs look like together. Did I forget anything, Lori, about the roundtable?
No, if you could unshare your screen so they can see our faces again here as we come down to the wrapping up our program for today. I want to encourage you to let us know if you have an interest in learning more. If you're not quite sure if you want to sign up for the roundtable or not, but I did post a link in the chat box to a form to express some interest in learning more, so you can feel free to fill that out. I also will send that out with some follow-up information and a link to the roundtable following today's program.
And Lori, if I might add just a final thought, is it can feel overwhelming sometimes to see all these statistics and think, holy cow, you know, what are we doing for our people, or what are we not? I would encourage you to take a few deep breaths, big deep belly breaths. I can take you through that now if we have time, but really to focus in on the fact that wellness is built one choice at a time, one day at a time. And I like to share that health and happiness and well-being, it's not about perfection, and but it is about progression. And when you think about the progress that your teams are making in this area of well-being, tap into that. Are you at a stalemate right now? Are you progressing forward? Are you going negatively backwards? Know that through your medical claims by talking with your employees, and then taking those deep breaths and just knowing that you can take one step at a time, get some focus, figure out what that looks like, and then move forward. It makes a big difference versus feeling like you have to overhaul everything in one fell swoop. And if you'd like, I could take you through a breathing technique, Lori, if you want to get everybody calm before they wrap up and get back into their day, if you have time for that.
Sure, I think that'd be a great way to wrap up things today.
I think so too. We're all in the midst of stress and change and shift. So wherever you are joining us from today, if you can put your feet flat on the floor as you sit in your chair, and just sit back in your chair so you're nice and relaxed, your abdomen is relaxed. Roll your shoulders a couple of times, big circles back, maybe 4 or 5 times, and when the 5th time, just let them drop so you feel a little bit of a release there. With palms up, just place your hands on your lap, maybe one on your abdomen if you'd like. And I would love for you just to close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing that in the space you're in. And we're going to focus on big abdominal, deep abdominal breaths. So breathe in through your nose, feeling your whole abdomen expand. And when you feel like you've filled up every little space in your abdomen, take a little extra breath in and pause. And then open your mouth and allow the air to release from your body with the exhalation, like a little silk ribbon of air leaving your body. With it goes your worry, concern. When you think you've exhaled everything, give a little extra push. And breathe in through the nose again, filling your whole abdomen with air. It's energizing air breath that's going to every cell in your body, taking a little extra air in, pausing, and then exhaling through the mouth, a nice slow exhalation, that little silk ribbon of air, leaving the body, releasing the stress your body might be feeling, giving a little extra push of air at the end, and breathing in through the nose again, filling that whole abdomen, really focusing on the energy that that breath brings into your body, pausing and exhaling through the mouth, giving a little extra push of air on the exhalation, taking one final breath in through the nose, filling up that whole abdomen again, taking a little extra in, pausing, and then exhaling. And on this exhalation, you feel your body relax. Your shoulders drop, neck is relaxed, your worries are released. And then you just return to some nice breaths at your own pace, knowing that you have everything you need to get through today and all the days forward. When you're ready to join us, you can open your eyes again, even though I can't see you, and come back together. Please take time for yourself. Well-being starts with you, and doing one little thing like that for yourself in a day's time, or maybe even doing it every hour on the hour, can make a huge difference in your ability to proceed in a positive, clear-mannered, productive way. So thank you so much for having me here today to serve. And I'll look forward to joining all of you at the roundtable on the 27th And as Lori mentioned, you can fill out that form in the chat, and we'll look forward to serving you then too.
Okay, thank you, Angela, so much. Who else needs a nap? I'm I'm feeling a little bit more centered and grounded. But the information shared today was so timely and so important to all of us as employers as we look at how can we best help our team stay healthy and united during this time. So thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I will follow up with all of you by email with some resources and a link to the form if you didn't catch that. If you'd like to join us for the roundtable, whether you're with the Orville Safety Council or the Holmes County Safety Council or not a safety council at all, we are happy to have you part of that conversation here in a couple weeks. So thanks so much and have a great day. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Lori. We'll talk soon.
Angela, it was very nice to meet you. I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that.